Hey guys, hope you're having a good day. This is our Trade Your Edge video for Monday, April 14th. We had more tariff news over the weekend that certain items would be exempt, and then we had more tariff news on Sunday after the exemption news on Saturday that items wouldn't be exempt. So the tariff news is just up and down and all over the place. If you want to ignore the tariff news, I showed you guys this several days ago where the Fibonacci lines are now. Let's go back and look at the settings. 540.81 was the high, 402.39 was the low. That's these two lines here. Here the high, here the low. We drew this in on the daily chart, right? If we look at the next day after this big run, we opened in the midpoint of this range, the 23% to 38% in the Fibonacci lines. We traded up to the top, we traded down to the bottom, right? So in that range, we opened, fell off, moved higher, fell back. The next day, we opened in the middle of the range, traded up to the top of the range, which brings us to today. We traded down to the top of this range, which is a support level and a good place to look for buying. So intraday, this is what it looked like. So let's talk a little bit about stacking, right? Adding things up to get to a buy or a sell decision. We had bottoming action here, higher lows. It took place right at this 454, 455 line. Toward 2 o'clock, we had a buy setup on the 2-minute as we got a power bar combining these three bars and a buy signal, right? We cleared resistance to the left and then moved up to this 461 area. I figured we would get to 460 just basing it on this sort of congestion area over here on the 2-minute. But purely technicals, we pull back, we're at a support level, we get a nice base. The probability is that next move is higher. We get a buy setup and move higher. We had a really nice trade in the Discord group with 100% on 0 DTEs. The 457s worked, the 458s worked, any of the 0 DTEs for intraday trading. It wasn't based on tariffs. It wasn't based on 125% tariffs or 20% tariffs or no tariffs or tariffs on everybody. It was a simple buy setup. At support, buy setup, successful trade. If you don't want to look at the tariff news and you don't care about the tariff news, just play the technical setups. They're working over and over and over. Again, make sure you have these Fibonacci lines for the retracement on your chart and look for a setup near one of those Fibonacci lines. We're getting near them over and over. And also don't forget about the 20 on the daily, which is falling. And it's right around that 464 area. It's 460, 460 right now. That's where we were this morning before we fell off, where we opened here right at the falling 20. We fell off all morning. So around lunchtime, we set up in what we just went over in that base, and then we rallied back up. Again, you could have played this off the 2-minute, off the 5. What I was doing was going back and forth and looking at the hourly, which we got close to, and you had a rising 20 on the hourly. So you had a positive factor there. The 15-minute wasn't that great because you didn't get the buy signal until we cleared here. So we were under the 15 as the buy setup on the 2 and the 5 was taking place, which is not unusual, right? You're going to have conflicting signals often on different time frames. If you looked at several of the mega caps, they looked decent. Let me go back to the 2-minute, right? This was where the breakout took place. But you had Apple basing, right? Higher lows from here up to here to here with higher lows and the 20 turning higher. You had Google, which pulled back and based. And a lot of these are going to look similar, right? Basing, higher lows, going into the afternoon, going into the 2 o'clock hour, which is where you want to see the action taking place, right? This basing all took place over lunchtime. Meta was the same, base, and then a move higher. Meta didn't jump that much, but you could have flipped through, all the various mega cap charts and seen this basing action. Kind of a reverse head and shoulders a little bit. If you look at this, shoulder, head, shoulder. So you sort of had a reverse head and shoulder setup as well on the buy setup as we were going into the 2 o'clock hour. But again, the technicals working over and over, no matter what the tariff news is for the day. So that's it for the the technical analysis. You can see the head and shoulders wasn't as clear here on the Qs as it was on some of the other stocks that were setting up, some of the mega caps, or the reverse head and shoulders. But again, that trade worked intraday. A nice scalp long trade in the middle of tariff news. Tariff news Monday. All right, I will talk to you guys soon. Thanks for watching this video. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit subscribe and like, and I'll do more videos like this. Thanks.